Thank you, Rowan. We think of the professions having a degree of sort of number of definitions, one of which is that they have a code of conduct which defines who they are, what their members will do, and really draws the red lines around what is professional conduct and what is special about professionals above anyone else in business or in life in general. In practice, codes of conduct came in quite late, long after the foundation of the institutions and a long way after other issues like qualifications, which emerged in the sort of the late 19th century. They all appeared in the major institutions in the 1920s and 30s, and these are a series of early codes of conduct which the institutions provided. Originally, they were intended for the institutions to control the membership inside them, but they always spoke about them as raising standards and controlling the behavior. But in practice, they were about making sure that this was an elite group which avoided being tarnished by being involved in trade or business and so on. But as we've moved into the 21st century, they're beginning to develop a new life, and they are asking professionals to do more difficult things, to be environmentally aware, to be up to date with their expertise, that is to do your CPD, and some of the latest things are a very strict control over any sense of bribery. And just as we're developing now, there's a huge interest in employment law and how you treat your employees. In general, within the Code of Conduct, they're made up of these kind of words. They're very generic. You can go through all the codes of conduct and you won't find anything that is specific in our industry to a particular aspect of it. So surveyors don't have a different set of words from architects or builders or anyone else. They use these kind of developments. But, crucially, they're also full of holes. So even though the principles are generic and they apply universally, the code of ethics that you see are very, very variable, and they have certain things in common, but a lot of them only a single institution will have. So this is an analysis of 13 different codes of conduct within the industry for planners, engineers, architects, some international codes. And you'll see that the only one that mentions that professionals have to be timely about their activities is the ARB code. ICE is the only one that mentions plagiarism. And this is a result of the historic accretion of code making that has happened over the last 100 years. There is very little that represents a coherent thought about why a code has a certain set of words and how individual professionals are being held to account by that. But the rest of the world has leapt over the codes in our industry. This is the requirements for any company director in this country. And these requirements are tougher than any professional code is in our industry. So we've been left behind. Our claim that professionals are more ethical, which gets made continuously than anybody else, is not true at the moment because we are not actually working to a high standard. Yet they could deliver a lot for the industry if they're coherent, consistent, well-developed, and we could begin to build a serious reputation of doing the right thing within our industry. But this is only in practice true if we can be really clear who they're for. Historically, they were there for the institutions in order to build an institution and to define who could be a member, who couldn't be. In more recent time, they've begun to develop for the practitioners themselves, and with them the professional firms. But you will see, if you look out there at the moment, that all the big professional firms are writing their own codes of conduct. That any of the major professional service providers have fairly stringent codes of conduct, which again are tougher than the institutional ones. They're not currently there for government. Government, although it polices this through the Privy Council, takes a very hands-off approach. Clients don't get a say, and society, who you would expect codes to be there to protect, rarely get a look in at all. Oh, sorry. And they're they can be difficult to find. This is from the RICS website that says that the public cannot get access to the RICS code because it is sitting behind a paywall. So it would be a good idea for the public, for clients, if there was a very clear definition of the duties of professionals. The industry has spent an incredible amount of effort in recent time in aligning its services between the different professional disciplines so that there is a relatively seamless and non-overlapping set of services that work for clients. But there is no explanation or of coherence of what we do and what our red lines are. For government, and particularly for UK PLC, having a coherent code of conduct will be a huge advantage for our export initiative. The RICS report back that it has been very advantageous for both their sales overseas and their recruitment overseas that they have a very firm code of conduct and have a reputation for probity that's built on the back of that. But the industry as a whole has not got that. To sort of quickly wrap up, the Edge has been working on this for some time. This is a report written 3 years ago by Paul Morell, which recommended a shared code of conduct across the industry, which we've been talking to the various institutions about ever since. And as part of that work, the Edge has been developing a model code of conduct for them to comment on and to use as best practice as they develop their new revisions of their codes. And this gives a series of duties to various different parts of our responsibilities within the industry, so to the wider world, to society, to employees, and so on. And this is available on the Edge's website if you want to comment on it. And finally, the Edge is proposing a compact between professionals and clients and the wider world that spells out, in an attempt to be as clear as possible, what you can expect from a professional working in this industry, so that there becomes a very clear agreement that both sides understand. But the understanding will only happen if it gets embraced widely. Thank you.